What is DTG? I probably should have made this video more than a decade ago. It's hard to believe, but we first made DTG public nearly 14 years ago in 2010. Since then, the private member forum has grown to contain a staggering amount of content. I just checked, and there are now more than 40,000 posts in over a dozen categories, including the daily plan worksheets and annotated example trades, quite a library of private webinars and video content, several methodology frameworks ranging from scalping to position trading, and perhaps most overlooked, the treasure of all the archived, keyword searchable member journal content. Since the forum's inception, we became known for being one of the first, if not the first, online to ever illustrate how order flow concepts might be woven into intraday strategies. Over the years, I suspect many members have joined just to learn some kind of basic framework for incorporating price action and order flow into their trading. But that stuff has always just been an anchor, as we call it. An anchor for illustrating how the much more important stuff like risk management and ongoing adaptation all fits together to form a complete process and one worthy of being called a professional program. So while it's true that most members continue to be incorporating order flow as part of their final entry criteria, it's never been what the community is really all about. To understand what DTG is, you first have to be clear on what it isn't. Those who know us know we've always been staunchly against the whole guru trading educator thing, which sadly seems to be the common thread in almost everything considered educational out there. The idea that who somebody is or who they worked for or what they've accomplished as a so-called professional in the industry, or even what their personal track record is for some specific strategy. The idea that any of that will have any bearing on their ability to help you achieve similar success is just rubbish, frankly. Completely irrelevant and useless. Even if you were able to mirror everything that they've done or are doing to a T, you'd be highly unlikely to be able to duplicate it. There's just far too many variables. Over the years, on the professional side of the house, I've been a partner in various prop entities, a principal of a small CTA firm, and along with DTG's owner and other co-founder, a principal of a quant research firm, which we founded in 2009. I can assure you that none of those things should impress you in the least, nor should they make you think us more qualified in some way to teach you the one best method for trading anything. You also shouldn't think that the knowledge and experience that we gain from those activities can be directly leveraged by you in some way to shortcut your own journey to success. The best thing anyone with any true understanding of what matters most in this game can do for you is to help reshape your thinking. Reshape it away from this relentless pursuit of the one best system or process focused entirely on entry criteria, which sadly is the norm. There is no such thing as a best entry or best exit or best risk overlay for that matter. The key, of course, is to discover how these components interact with each other so that you can learn to recognize different or changing market conditions in order to adapt to them ongoing. Running in parallel with stopping this relentless search for the one best entry criteria is learning to have reasonable expectations. In the real world, this psychologically pleasing win 3 out of every 4 trades you take in linear succession doesn't exist. Or if it does, only for a short period of time, and certainly not for years or decades on end. You need to learn how to make your own discoveries of things which might give you an edge, and evaluate them empirically if and when you do find them. In doing so, you'll also no doubt learn that any edge you might find won't manifest trade by trade, but rather over groups of occurrences. And this is especially true with single market intraday strategies. Most of these educator types will teach you to think of winning trades as evidence of prowess and losing trades as evidence of making a mistake. I can assure you, no true professional thinks like this. I'm always amazed at how many aspiring retail traders, even relatively experienced ones, still can't tell me what they think their edge is and why. As to be expected, they can tell me in great detail what their entry criteria is, who they got it from, what it supposedly signals, and why they think it might be a superior spot to enter the market. But they almost always can't tell me why they think it's an edge. In other words, they're just imitating what they've seen or heard. The point being, they haven't arrived at wanting to trade whatever it is by being inspired by something they've encountered on their own. Nor have they made the effort to look back at a lot of history, wrapping various risk models around it against a prospective amount of equity to see what's what. The end goal being, of course, to do the math and see what sort of performance metrics it might have produced. Hypothetically, of course. To be a great trader, you need to start with developing these kinds of good observation skills and learn how to efficiently evaluate what you see via what we call manual or analog backtesting. The idea being to find out if what you think you see as a possible edge might actually have merit. These skills are also what will help you adapt the same basic strategy, whatever it is, to changing market conditions over time. And this is not just useful in the context of more mechanical or system trading, but also extremely valuable in strategies with a large amount of discretion as well. All this said, we of course have always recognized that most newer traders want, or in some cases need, at least some kind of complete but adaptable guidelines to get them started in the right direction on this journey toward self-discovery and sufficiency. To that end, since the inception of the forum, there have always been a handful of highly adaptable strategy frameworks to use as a foundation in crafting your own complete process. Regardless of which market, what type of strategy, and what periodicity personally resonates with you, who typically benefits most from membership, we're asked. Over the years, membership's been dominated by what we call last stop or end of the line aspiring traders, meaning those who've heard all the charlatans pitching dreams of making a living from a tiny account, and that quickly progressing into mansions and garages full of Ferraris. They've read all the books on psychology and bought all the courses promising what we call the red light, green light dream. But they've come to realize the truth, which is that there is no magic bullet. Trading is a grind more about successfully managing discomfort, as well as fear and greed better than the next guy. And above all, having reasonable and actually achievable expectations. I can almost hear the crowd of listeners raising collective hands as they hear this stuff. "That's me," they cry. But I'll warn you, even though I can assure you, beyond a shadow of a doubt, you've finally found a community that will give it to you straight, it will never be easy. And the effort you'll need to put forth won't ever change. And yet, even after all these years, I'm still amazed at how many new members join, digest at least a bit of the framework and webinar content, and then, assumedly, once they realize there's no magic guru secrets revealed, never utter a single word or interact in any way, Eventually, I can only assume, moving on to continue with their desperate search for a much easier path. To find someone who will just, quote unquote, teach me how to trade. Good luck with that. But for those who are willing to roll up sleeves and do the work, the good news is we've seen our share of success stories over the years. More than one former member has gone on to hold important positions in the industry. And more than a few, in fact, have arguably seen more success with certain strategies than either of the founders ever has. The success stories, at least by our measure, all have one thing in common. They followed our advice by immediately starting their journal upon joining, beginning with a first post simply revealing what they've done, which hasn't seemed to have worked, along with what they think they would like to pursue in terms of market, strategy, and periodicity. From there, the founders and other longtime members will interact and help them discover what may be the reasons what they've done thus far haven't been successful. The strategy itself is almost always more than fine. Perhaps they're trying to put a square peg in a round hole with a strategy choice not well suited to the chosen market or periodicity. Or perhaps they just need to work on better adapting the risk overlay to current conditions. But the main takeaway here is that the interaction is the whole key, and it should be ongoing. As I said before, all successful professional traders know that you're never done discovering and adapting to what you discover. Whether it be the ever-changing markets themselves, your own chosen strategy trying to keep up with those changes, or discovering your own psychology and how your natural human flaws may be impeding your progress, which, unfortunately, is usually rearing its ugly head in all of us pretty regularly. So in closing, if all you've just heard resonates with you, and you've finally had enough chasing gurus and unrealistic dreams nearly impossible to achieve, but more importantly, you're ready to put in the real work required to discover what is possible to achieve, DTG may just be for you.